So you guys know my friends over at Silver Doctors, right? The founders of SD Bullion, which is a sponsor of SGT Report. Well, they're both pharmacists. And Tyler Wall, the CEO of SD Bullion, had this to say about his experience as a pharmacist.
I was there in the pharmacy and even in the 2000s, we were getting bonused for flu vaccines. So
I knew it. And you'll want to stay tuned because we'll get an inside look at the silver market from one of the biggest online dealers in the United States.
Republic Metals bankruptcy has been absolutely huge inside this market, but we're already seeing 3 to 6 week delays just because Republic Metals is offline. I think we're seeing premiums just skyrocket.
Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. This is a very good one with the CEO of SD Bullion, Tyler Wall. And SD Bullion and Tyler and the doc have been sponsoring SGT Report to some degree for a long time. We do have a banner at the top of SGT Report for SD Bullion. So if you're inclined to buy some physical silver or gold, please click on that banner. It'll take you to sdbullion.com. And that way, Tyler and his team will know that it was SGT Report that sent you. We're going to talk about the precious metals market. We're going to be talking about how premiums are rising and how the bankruptcy of Republic Metals, one of the biggest and only refiners in the United States, is causing discord and disharmony in the space and causing those premiums to rise. Tyler, welcome.
Hey, Sean. I just wanted to compliment you on a great website and a YouTube channel. As you outlined, we're a big sponsor of Sargent Report, and it's been a privilege for us to be doing that over the last 2 to 3 years. Also wanted to mention your recent interview with Dr. B. I heard her testimony and encourage everyone to go back and check that out if they haven't listened to that yet.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Dr. B's testimony is very, very powerful, and I think it's resonating with lots and lots of people. And I think it just goes to show, Tyler, that the Great Awakening is real. People are waking up to the crimes of the deep state and what I've labeled spiritual warfare. It's essentially the war we're engaged in here. As people wake up, they start to realize that's the case. And it really rocked Dr. B's soul because she never, ever dreamed when she was in residency to become a pathologist that once she was a pathologist, it would mean that she would have to deal with all these aborted baby parts. She had no idea that was part of the deal. And it really rocked her soul. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, man. I think the Great Awakening is very real.
Yeah, I think the interesting aspect there, I mean, a lot of people do not know kind of our background or my background specifically. I mean, I used to be highly involved in the medical industry as a pharmacist, and I know you had an article here recently about the ugly truth about autism. Mm-hmm. And some of the things out there, and I see out there, it's for me, it hits kind of home. I mean, towards the end of my pharmacy career, I really did not value the profession at all. I can tell you specifically about vaccines. I was there in the pharmacy and even in the 2000s, we were getting bonused for flu vaccines. So
I knew it. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I knew it because every single time we walk into a CVS or just about anywhere, they're pushing the vaccine on you, the flu vaccine, and they're always offering it for free. So who benefits from giving out the free flu vaccine? Do they care about us that much, Tyler?
No. So when I first started, I think it was early 2000s, there was a big push in getting pharmacists aboard the flu vaccine train. So like compensation packages included incentives to vaccinate, X amount of patients annually to reach top pay. And towards the end of my pharmacy career, it got way worse. Flu vaccines, they were more considered like bread or milk, and we were no longer bonused on them. But non-flu vaccines, those were now the hit. We were not only bonus based on non-flu vaccines, but we were told at some points that we weren't going to receive our annual base pay increase if we didn't reach a certain amount of non-flu vaccines. And then it got worse than that. The pharmacy technicians, so the technicians that you see when you walk into the store or to the pharmacy, they were starting to get bonus. We had a Starbucks in the stores, so they were getting $5 Starbucks card, and for every non-flu vaccine, they're able to sign up someone to get. So it's kind of makes me sick to think about that in retrospects. And pharmacists have been regularly recognized as one of the most trusted professions in the United States. Some of the smartest individuals I know are pharmacists, including myself and the other co-founder of of our company, and it's a well-paid profession. We have to get doctorate degrees to practice in, but sometimes I look back and I feel like we're no better than a car salesman trying to upsell, options on a vehicle and monetizing the pharmacy to visits to the pharmacy, so to speak.
Oh,
Anyway.
no, it's a great aside. It's so important because it's just so despicable that that's what Western medicine has become.
Yeah.
And that was the important takeaway from the interview I did with the founders of Autism One. That interview, by the way, hasn't done very well. I probably picked a poor title, but it is the ugly truth about autism, and it is the now provable, essentially quantifiable connection between vaccines, mercury in the vaccines, and autism. And the bottom line, guys, we don't have to get so deep into that right now, but you should go listen to that interview, especially if you're a young parent or a pregnant woman or a couple expecting a baby or trying to have your first baby. Please get educated about this topic before you have a baby, because as soon as you get the baby, they just, on literally day one, they give the baby the vitamin K shot. These babies get hit with the vaccines the minute they enter this world. And now the autism rate, Tyler, in this country is 1 in 59 kids. 1 in 59 kids, whereas in the Amish community where they don't vaccinate, it's 1 in 15,000 has autism.
Yeah,
Explain that to me.
well, it's important to note that those vaccines are not required. Obviously, you can opt out. They'll pressure you. I have 3 kids myself, and the first kid, unfortunately, I was still kind of iffy on what I thought, but my last kid, no vaccines at all, and you have to fight to not let them give them vaccines at the hospital, and you have to fight to find a medical professional to be able to take your kid as a patient, because they act like it's a risk to the rest of the people in the office if your child shows up and it's unvaccinated. And that's totally farce, because those guys are supposedly all vaccinated. So my kid in the waiting room shouldn't have any problems with those.
Right. Well, and in California, it's now mandatory to vaccinate thanks to criminal Governor Jerry Brown. It's just an absolute outrage. And again, though, it gets me back to this idea that people are waking up. People are waking up to the fact that the vaccine industry in Western medicine is crooked, and so is the monetary system. So is the Federal Reserve, under which we've been in servitude since 1913. And so more and more people are waking up to the idea of silver and gold being honest money, as our monetary system should be backed by gold and silver, but no longer is. So people want to get the stuff in physical form for themselves. And one of the things I wanted to bring up in this interview, you guys should Google this: bullion, bankruptcy, fraud, government actions, etc. I've got an amazing flow chart here of all of the companies that have gone out of business or been sued or who have had criminal complaints filed against them for fraud in the precious metals industry. And some of these companies, folks, you'll recognize the names. Tyler, your thoughts on all of these companies? Here's one: NWT Mint.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. All of these fraudsters in the space.
Yeah, it's kind of disheartening in a way, and I guess some people might start off with good intentions and they get greed into their heart and they kind of make some bad decisions. We kind of started things a little bit differently, as you know, Sean, with starting out a website. The doc, John, started a website called silverdoctors.com. We had a deal where back then I was still okay with being a pharmacist, and I had a website called freepharmacist.com. He had a website called silverdoctors.com, and whichever one took off first, we decided that we'd join forces and fully support that. So his website, Silver Doctors, had, I think after 7 or 8 months, had over 1 million page views a month. And we realized early on that display advertising or video advertising, it wasn't going to be enough to get us out of our day jobs. But we definitely had a desire to exit the pharmacy, our pharmacy career at some point. So in the midst of this, I think we posted an article on Silver Doctors, and we asked, hey, we had this interest of doing a physical purchase, John and I did, and we wanted a group buy. So it was just an attempt for using the community and trying to get together a group purchase so we can get lower rates. And we had a lot of emails about it, and a lot of individuals interested in joining our purchase. And we were surprised. It's like, wow, all these people trust us to purchase from and send the money and get them a lower price on their bullion. And we realized that there's some astronomically high premiums in the marketplace through competitors. So along that same time, I tore my Achilles tendon playing basketball. So it gave me 12 weeks out of the pharmacy as a pharmacy manager as a day job to launch SD Bullion. while I recovered from the surgery. And we've had our ups and downs over the years, but we, unlike most other companies in this space, we've never taken on any debt. So initially, that meant starting really small. We only had like 5 to 10 products on our website that we offered to interested individuals on purchasing gold and silver. Now I think that number is 600 to 1,000 products, and we just added one product at a time as we could afford it, staying biblically financed and out of debt the entire time. We might have grown, we might have sacrificed a little bit of the growth rate there initially, but now we're one of the top 3 most trafficked precious metal retailers in the United States by the metrics we analyze, at least, with over $200 million in annual sales. So we've got a lot of momentum going now by just staying true to a no debt sort of business philosophy, and just trying to just do whatever was in our means to sell precious metals to the community at the lowest prices.
Yeah, if you guys are interested, go to sgtreport.com, which you probably do. Hopefully, most of you go there at least once a day to check up on the latest in real news. But if you click the banner, the SD Bullion banner at the top of SGT Report, that'll portal you through right to SD Bullion, and you can get free shipping on orders over $99, which is a steal of a deal. You need to tell me, Tyler, how you guys can afford to do that. For the person who's only going to buy 5 or 10 coins, and the margins are so thin, how in the heck can you give free shipping? But the other question I've had for you in the past, and you've answered it for me offline, is how do you manage the business when margins are so thin and silver and gold is manipulated? And I think you answered that you guys deal with futures or whatever, and you hedge so that it doesn't matter what the price is. Can you explain that to people?
Sure. So the free shipping on orders over 99, we just launched that in December. It used to be $7.77, I think. And there's so many people out there that were man, you charge us too much for shipping. It always baffled me.
777 is cheap, guys. I mean,
Yeah,
the stuff needs to be insured, and I mean, it's come on.
it always baffled me that 777 was deemed too expensive to ship, heavy metal, valuable metal across the country insured. But we had to listen to our customers, and they were complaining about it. And then also with the sales tax thing, where eventually I'd start collecting sales tax on certain states or certain products, we decided that, hey, it's time to, kind of go to the free shipping model. It's tiered pricing. So if on a lot of products, not all the products, we'll have some sales or any quantity specials, and people can capitalize on those opportunities. But in a way that we had to tier out some prices more than running too many quantity specials on, say, like the 1 to 9, purchase quantities. A little bit higher premium on the products, and we probably still lose money on the shipping, but over the course of hundreds of thousands of transactions we do on a weekly basis, it kind of washes out. So the biggest thing is just keeping our overhead low. We do that through, I'm pretty tech savvy, and one of my passions is information systems. So connecting systems in a way is very important to be able to operate at the thin margins that we do. You outlined hedging strategy. We have a little bit of different hedging strategy as some, based on our views of precious metals and what they are. We truly believe in precious metals and what they are, as a store of wealth. We hedge is sort of sophisticated in a way, but we hedge basically the delta of, we have a small bank of precious metals that we maintain gold, silver ounces in. And then if it goes over or goes underneath that target amount, that's where the hedging comes into play. Some people have called that risky, that, in terms of whether it be a wholesaler or a bank. I totally disagree. If you look at the history of money, gold and silver are the greatest store of wealth. We obviously do not take speculative positions, but we do hold a portion of our inventory weighted to gold and silver. In 10 years from now, if I'm going to make a major investment and I'm going to build out a larger depository, gold and silver today stored, I have more confidence in that being worth more than $1. And over the last 100 years, the dollar has lost 98% of its purchasing power versus an ounce of gold. So I'm not exactly sure why that would be too risky of a strategy. There is a hedging, sophisticated hedging component to that, where it does not matter. We're washing ounces out, and we're hedging the delta portion of it. But it's a little bit different than other precious metal dealers. But we are hedging every single ounce that comes through SD bullion for sure.
Well, I just want people to understand that I order from SD Bullion on a fairly regular basis, and I'm never disappointed. And you just do need to be careful. You do remember that company, Tyler, called Tulving, the Tulving Company? Um,
Yeah.
that story, that's really a sad story. And they went under in March of 2014 with nearly 400 creditors owed $17 million, and the owner was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. And I think it's one of those businesses where if you're not hedging and you're not running your business
Right.
appropriately, you're going to get killed by the price of silver, because instead of it going up like it should, it tends to go down.
Right.
And I think a lot of these
Right.
companies get buried. So tell
Right.
us about the Republic Metals bankruptcy and how has that caused premiums to rise?
Yeah, Republic Metals bankruptcy has been absolutely huge inside this market. I think it's one of the biggest drivers of price action over the last 6 months in terms of just the physical metal prices that you see. I listened to your interview, Sean, with Keith Newmeyer of First Majestic. And I know you touched on it briefly in that interview. SD Bullion was fortunate to not lose a single dollar in the Republic Metals bankruptcy. However, like you named off, there's many other companies that were not so fortunate. So it certainly had a profound impact on the pricing. I would say that premiums wise, uh, they've probably gone up 300%. If you look back from when they went bankrupt in November compared to today. Um, Additionally, there's been so much minting capacity that's been taken offline. The majority of your privately minted products right now are on a 3 to 6 week delay. So we're definitely, if I had to rate the demand for physical precious metals, it's definitely above average over the last 3 to 6 months, but it's not like we've seen in 2015 or 2008. But we're already seeing 3 to 6 week delays just because Republic Metals is offline. And if you remember a couple of years ago, I mean, Elemental was doing an extraordinary amount of minting capacity. I still think they have some sort of minting capacity, but it's not the levels it used to be. So Republic Metals was, if they're not the largest silver mint refiner and mint, they were one of the largest. And yeah, I think we're seeing premiums just skyrocket. I mean, I think before they went bankrupt, we were purchasing, say, like a silver round. It was 20, 25 cents. We were acquiring it from uh, private mints, Republic being one of them. Today, we're around 60 cents to acquire a 1 ounce round, and that's on a 3 to 6 week delay. So it's definitely had a huge impact. I think we haven't really seen the full impact. If we see demand increase like a 2015 sort of event, I'm not trying to pump at all.
No, that's my next. That's what I was going to ask you next.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be, I can see premiums going much higher, and it kind of depends on how the Republic Metals bankruptcy kind of how it settles. I think there's some auctions going on right now. I think it's going to end maybe end of January, early February. There's been obviously there's some interest with some mints and refiners around the world of acquiring assets at a discount. So depending on who is able to potentially land some of the assets there, this thing could get back in line, next 3, 6, call it late summer, early fall, where event a surge in demand wouldn't have such an impact. But right now we're at a pretty vulnerable state.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about choke points. What happens when demand rises? What happens when our friends, neighbors, and colleagues, none of whom are buying silver and gold for the most part right now, start to wake up to the fact that the dollar is not a store of value for long term, and they start to wake up to the idea that they need to get physical silver and gold. They can't go to Wells Fargo and get it. They can't go to US Bank. They can't go to Target, Walmart. They're going to start looking online and they're going to find the SD bullions. But the problem is the choke points include, well, like First Majestic, Keith Newmeyer, they got to pull the stuff out of the ground. And I guess in First Majestic's case, they do mint their own stuff, so maybe you can hit on that. But the other choke point is the refiners. There's only so many of the refiners out there that can turn the physical bullion, the metal, into coins and into bars, and that's a huge choke point. So
Yeah.
what happens when everybody wakes up and everybody needs silver and gold? You're going to have some sleepless nights.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to think about. I think it's one of the things that John and I talked about back in 2011, 2012 when we first started SD Bullion, because I mean, we naturally kind of think along those lines. There's definitely some choke points, as you outlined. The mint's definitely one. The price of silver and gold has been pretty suppressed, and I think Keith outlined some on that interview that they've had to cut down exploration, and that decreases the production of, or the available ounces of silver or gold. The minting, and the private mints, the refiners, that's a choke point right now, I'd say. Still able to keep up right now with demand. But with public offline, that would be a concern, at least in the United States, for the foreseeable future. There's banking's probably another one that you could probably put into that list of concerns in terms of how they view this precious metal industry, and kind of the higher fraud. We're highly targeted for fraud. It's the second most targeted industry for fraud. So uh, banks are an interesting component to that, especially when they get burnt with a deal like Republic Metals or any of those other bankruptcies. A lot of those companies have sizable loans, and banks do not like to lose money. So I know that climate has also changed, where it's much harder for those companies that are relying on credit or loans from banks to get those loans when you're in the precious metal industry.
All righty. Well, let's do this. I wanted to ask you about some of your favorite coins. And for people who are listening, I guess I'll just share this. One of the things that I've been buying from you guys now over the past year that I was excited about are these South African silver Cougarans. And what I like about them is that, first of all, it's a beautiful coin, but previous to, I think, 2017, you couldn't get a silver Cougarand. You could only get a gold Cougarand. And so many of us grew up with these movies where the bad guys would demand bearer bonds and Cougarands. And so when the silver Cougarands became available in 2017, I was excited, but there was a huge premium, like a double premium, 100% premium. So like a $25 coin would be 50 bucks. And I refused to pay that markup. But then in 2018 and now in 2019, you can get a silver Cougarand for just $2.50, $3 over spot. I love those. What are some of your favorite coins?
Yeah, so I'm traditionally a bullion guy. I love the traditional products of silver eagles. Maybe that's boring, or the silver rounds. I love 90% silver. I think that has so much more value than people appreciate, and I think it comes down to that stacker survival type community when you talk about 90% silver, because it's the most visible you know silver that you can find out there, and it's pretty cheap. I think we were selling it, at least last week. It was selling for 55 cents over spot on SD Bullion. And the times I think about whether you have a currency crisis or a monetary event, 1 ounce, whether it be a 1 ounce silver coin or even definitely a 1 ounce gold coin, how much is that? How much could that potentially be worth? And if you're going to use it in a barter situation, how are you going to make change? So I really like 90% silver. Some of the unique coins that we have on SD Bullion. One of the favorite coins I had last year was the Roaring Lion. It was we that was an exclusive product to us. We invented that ourselves. A big picture of a lion on the front, symbolizing Yahweh, and it was, I think we came out with it 99 cents over spot for a coin. It was unheard of. I got a lot of people, emailing us upset, and in terms of being the lowest price coin, they wanted that honor, and it's like, well, no, we want to give that value to our customer base. So we're gonna come out with 2019, a couple months, with the 2019 Roaring Lion and a 2019 Tree of Life. We're gonna call that's called the Truth series. It's got a half of a biblical verse on the Roaring Lion, half of a biblical verse on the Tree of Life, and I think that coin's really cool. It's the lowest price coins in the world, and we're not selling it for selling for 99 cents. I think this should be $1.29 since Republic's out of the market. The premiums are appreciating, but you can check it out on eBay or whatever for the 2018 version. It's appreciated greatly since we first released it.
Cool. And just to recap, you'd mentioned SD Bullion has no debt. Did I get that correct?
Right, zero debt. So we have no debt at all here at SD Bullion. So it's
Okay.
it's been remarkable to be able to do that. But the key was just 5-10 products at the beginning. We didn't have 600 products, and just adding each product that we added on, we had to make sure that we could afford it to be able to support it. And it's 7 years in the making now, but yeah, stayed totally debt free the entire time.
Yep. And in good standing with the Better Business Bureau, correct?
Right, 200, I think around 200 Better Business reviews. We have over 10,000 reviews you can find online, and 5-star ratings and A+ BBB.
Right. Okay, guys, just to recap, full disclosure, I won't get paid anything extra if you click the banner at the top of SGT Report, the SD Bullion banner at the top of SGT Report, to go to SD Bullion to buy silver and gold. Tyler and his team just pay to have that banner at SGT Report, and by virtue of that, I consider them a sponsor of the site, which I very much appreciate. But do click on the banner so they know that the reason you came to SD Bullion is by way of SGT Report. I'd appreciate that very much. If you're inclined to go and check out those silver Cougarans or silver Eagles or silver Maples, Canadian silver Maples, our guest has been the CEO of SD Bullion, sdbullion.com, Tyler Wall. Tyler, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in for real news 24/7. Visit us at sgtreport.com. We love you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
By 2032, which is 13 years from now, 1 in 2 children will have autism. 80% of boys will have autism. We can't survive as a country if we get anywhere near that figure.